Please hit like, share, and follow. My name is Silk. Today, I want to invite you to sit and listen to something. A story that's been buried deep in my heart for years. A story that, if you hear it, might weigh on you, sink into you, and maybe make you see the world, see death, see things beyond what the eyes can grasp, in a different light. Have you ever asked yourself, what do people think about before they leave this world? What do they feel? Or, is there something more important than their final breath, something they want to say, to do, to fix, before everything fades to black? This story, it didn't start with me. It started with a place, a forgotten place, a small village no one dares to mention, a village called Shadowless Hamlet. 30-some years ago, I was just a little girl, a child who loved running through the rice fields, listening to tales from my grandmother. My grandmother, she knew everything about this village. Every evening, she'd sit in her rocking chair, the dim light flickering in the house, the sound of wind slipping through the wooden slats, and she'd tell stories that made me tremble. She said, Shadowless Hamlet wasn't always like this. Once, it was a lively place, filled with laughter, temple fairs, children playing. But everything changed after that incident. She went on to say, in this village, there's a legend about spirits that refuse to leave, spirits who still have something important left to do. Grandmother warned me, if you hear crying at 3 in the morning, never, ever forget, don't open the door, don't look out the window. Because, whatever's out there, it might be watching you, and it might not be something you want to meet. As a child, I didn't believe in these things. I thought they were just stories to scare kids, tales adults made up to keep me in line. That is, until one night, a night that changed everything in my life. That night, it was pouring rain, thunder roared. I remember, my parents had to attend an event in the next village, so I was sent to stay at my grandmother's house, a house at the edge of the village. That house, it was old. The wooden floor creaked with every step, the windows rattled in the wind, and there was a smell, a musty smell, like something was trapped in the walls. I lay in bed, pulling the blanket over my head, trying to force myself to sleep. Grandmother was in the next room. But, have you ever felt it? That feeling, like something's watching you, even though you can't see it? That night, I felt it. And, when the old clock on the wall struck 3 in the morning, I heard it, a sound. It was crying, soft, like it came from far away, from outside the window. I told myself, it's just the wind, just the rain, just my imagination. But, the sound, it grew clearer, clear enough that I knew, it wasn't natural. Grandmother had taught me, if you hear something at 3 in the morning, do nothing. Don't get up. Don't look. But, you know what? Curiosity, it's scarier than fear. It was like something was pulling me, forcing me. I got up, walked to the window, my hands trembling, and I parted the curtain, just a little. What I saw, it wasn't a person. But it wasn't a ghost either. It was a shadow, the shadow of a woman, standing under the tamarind tree in front of the house. Long hair, a white dress soaked through, and she was crying. I panicked. I stepped back, my heart pounding. But it was like she knew that I'd seen her. What would you do if you faced something like this? I wanted to run, to scream, to wake my grandmother. But my legs wouldn't move. And the crying, it stopped. Silence, a terrifying silence. Then I heard it knocking at the door. Tap, tap, tap. I remembered my grandmother's words, asterisk, don't open the door. Asterisk, but there was something like a force, like a voice in my head, telling me, asterisk, open the door. She just wants to talk. She just wants to tell you something, asterisk. I don't know what I was thinking. My hand, it reached for the doorknob, and I opened the door. What stood there? It wasn't a shadow anymore. It was her, the woman. Pale face, eyes that seemed to pierce through to my soul. She spoke, her voice hoarse, like it came from far away. She said, asterisk, help me, tell them I didn't do it. Asterisk. I asked her, shaking with fear, asterisk, who are you? What do you want? Asterisk, she didn't answer. She just looked at me, then she reached out, her hand cold as ice. And she gave me something, a letter, a damp, tattered letter, smelling of wet earth. I ran back into the house, slammed the door, locked everything. And I sat there, clutching that letter, all night. I didn't sleep. I was afraid that if I closed my eyes, she'd come back, or something worse would. The next morning, I decided to read the letter. And what I read, it changed everything. The letter, it was written in shaky handwriting, written in blood. It told the story of a woman named Full, a woman accused of killing her lover. She didn't do it. She tried to tell everyone, but no one believed her. And one night, she was killed under that tamarind tree. Do you believe in injustice? The kind where some people die innocent? Full, she didn't want revenge. She just wanted the truth to be known. She just wanted people to know she didn't do it. After that night, I started digging. I asked my grandmother, asked people in the village, asked anyone who might know. But, you know what? The more I asked, the stranger people looked at me, like they were afraid of something. I started hearing other stories like shadows hiding in this village. I heard about Uncle Word, an old man who used to be the temple gardener. He died 20 years ago. But, villagers said, some nights, they saw his shadow, walking with a hoe, heading to the garden behind the temple. And, sometimes, they heard him crying, I'm sorry. I got curious. So I went to the temple, talked to the monk. The monk looked at me, with eyes that seemed to know I was unearthing something. He said, Uncle Word, he died mysteriously. Before he died, he said he knew a secret no one wanted revealed. And, that night, he died with a smile, but his eyes, they were full of fear. I started to feel that this village, it was hiding something bigger than legends, bigger than ghosts. I started meeting others, people willing to talk, but they spoke with fear, like they were afraid that if they said too much, something would come for them. One of them was Aunt Thread, the village shaman. She looked at me, with eyes that seemed to know what I'd seen. She said, Full, she wasn't the only spirit lingering in the village. She said, there were others, many others, and they all had something in common. They died with unfinished business, and their unfinished business, it was all connected. Aunt Thread gave me something, a notebook, an old, tattered notebook. She said it belonged to a nun who used to live at the temple, a nun who disappeared 30 years ago. I took it home, and I started reading. The notebook, it told the story of the village, a story no one wanted to talk about. It said, Shadowless Hamlet, it used to be prosperous. But, decades ago, there was an event that changed everything. It started with a fire, a massive fire that burned down half the village. Everyone said it was an accident. But, in the notebook, the nun wrote that it wasn't. It was arson. And, the one who did it, was someone everyone in the village respected. I started to wonder, started to connect the dots. Full. Uncle Word, the nun, and the fire. It was like a puzzle that, if I solved it, I might set something free, or I might find something I wasn't supposed to. But the story didn't stop there. I started hearing about a little girl, a girl named Bird, a girl who disappeared the night of the fire. No one knew where she went. Some said she died in the flames. But others said they saw the shadow of a little girl, running through the fields behind the village, singing a song no one knew. I started to get scared that the deeper I dug, the more I'd find something too big for a kid like me to handle. But, you know what? Sometimes, fear, it makes you want to know more. One night, I dreamed of Full. She stood under the tamarind tree, but this time she wasn't crying. She looked at me, and she pointed to the ground where she stood. I woke up, my heart racing, and I knew I had to go there. I went to the tamarind tree in the daytime because I was afraid that if I went at night, I might see something. I started digging where full pointed, and I found a box, a small wooden box, buried in the dirt. Inside the box, there was another letter, and something else, something that made me tremble. It was a necklace with a name engraved on it. False name. And there was a cloth doll, a tattered doll, a doll that I felt had something trapped inside it. The letter, it was written written to her lover. She said she knew his secret, and she begged him to stop. But he didn't stop. And he killed her. False lover, he was the village headman, a man everyone in the village respected. He was the one who killed Full. He was the one who started the fire to cover up his secrets. But the story wasn't over. I started to wonder, that cloth doll, what did it have to do with Bird? I took it to Aunt Thread, and Aunt Thread looked at me with eyes that seemed afraid. She said, the doll, it belonged to Bird. And Bird, she didn't die in the fire. She was killed by the same man. I started to feel that this village, it wasn't just Shadowless Hamlet. It was a grave for secrets that, if I kept digging, I might not survive. I started hearing about others, people who died, and their spirits still lingered. There was Granny Gold, an old herbalist, who died after saying something about the village headman's secret. And there was Little Mouse, a boy who drowned in the canal, but some said he didn't drown, he was pushed. I started to feel that everyone was connected. And the village headman, he was at the center of it all. I decided to do something. I took everything. Full's letter, the nun's notebook, Bird's doll, and I gave them to the monk. I begged him to help, to tell everyone, to reveal the truth. The monk looked at me with eyes that seemed to know I was doing something dangerous. He said, the truth, it's like a double-edged sword. It might set things free, or it might destroy. I insisted. I said, if the truth isn't revealed, those spirits, Full, Bird, Uncle Word, the nun, Granny Gold, Little Mouse, they'll never find peace. The monk agreed. He gathered the villagers, and he told them everything, about the injustice, about the evil, about the village headman. But, do you think everyone believed him? No. Some were angry. Some said it was all lies. Some said I was crazy. But there were others, people who had seen, had heard. They started to speak, to talk about what they'd kept hidden. And that night, the night the truth began to surface, I dreamed I dreamed of full. She smiled at me, and she said, asterisk, it's close, the time is near. Asterisk. Years passed. I grew up. The village headman, he fell ill, gravely ill. And, before he died, he confessed. He admitted, he was the one who killed Full, he was the one who killed Bird, he was the one who started the fire, and he was the one who turned this village into Shadowless Hamlet. That night, the night he died, the villagers said they heard crying again. But it wasn't sad crying, it was like a sigh of relief. And some said they saw shadows, the shadow of Full, the shadow of Bird, the shadows of others, standing together under the tamarind tree. Do you think this story is over? No, it's not. Because sometimes I still dream of them. Full, Bird, Uncle Word, and others. They smile at me, and they say, asterisk, thank you. Asterisk. But there's something I still feel, that it's not over. Because this village, it still has shadows I don't know. And sometimes I still hear faint crying at 3 in the morning. Before I end this story, I want to ask you, if you had the chance, before everything ends, what would you say? What would you do? Because sometimes the most important things are the ones you overlook. Thank you for listening to my story. And if tonight you hear crying, remember, don't open the door.